Are those defective GM ignition switches even deadlier than we thought? Tonight, the 7 Action News investigators are talking to one independent expert who says they are. Investigator Ross Jones continues to dig into the GM recall mess, and he's here now with the startling developments. Ross?
Joanne, GM says a dozen deaths are linked to its faulty ignition switches. But tonight there's reason to wonder if the real number is at least 25 times that.
The American public has the right to ask, what other defects has GM hidden?
In a blistering rebuke of General Motors, automotive safety expert Clarence Ditlow told me earlier today that the company needs to be punished well beyond just paying for a recall.
This recall is going to cost GM peanuts. You're looking at some victims that are paralyzed for life. What's their medical cost? I mean, they're going to cost far more than the $100 million for a recall.
GM acknowledges that at least 12 deaths and 31 crashes are linked to its faulty ignition switches, causing engines in some Chevy Cobalts, Saturn Ions, and 4 other vehicle types to shut down, disabling power steering and airbags. But in reviewing data belonging to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, Ditlow says that this recall is much deadlier than anyone has said, finding 303 deaths in recalled vehicles where the airbags didn't deploy.
There was a lot of information available to NHTSA. It looks like they totally dropped the ball, and General Motors didn't do anything, so there was a complete failure.
GM disagrees with Ditlow's assertion and says it's nothing more than speculation. They said today that the last known fatality connected with the bad ignitions took place in 2009 when a 25-year-old woman died in Tennessee. The airbag in her Chevy Cobalt didn't go off.
This is a safety-critical component. An airbag is your last line of defense in a crash, and it should never fail.
Because GM emerged from bankruptcy in 2009, it's immune from any lawsuits stemming from accidents that took place before then. But Ditlow said today that the company should give up that privilege and pay a much higher price.
They should waive it because they concealed this defect, which they knew about in 2001 to 2004. The U.S. government and taxpayers provided $49 billion in funds to GM to get them out of their dire financial straits, and the least they can do is to pay back the public and compensate the victims of this horrible defect.
The auto giant is already the focus of a criminal investigation out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York, as well as a separate probe by Congress. GM has apologized to its victims and those still driving its potentially dangerous vehicles. But as you just heard Clarence Ditlow say, along with the repaired ignition, an apology may be all you end up getting. We will, of course, stay on this developing story and bring you the very latest. I'm Ross Jones, 7 Action News.
All right.